as I said, I attended a further education place for a year. Got a bit wayward, then started asserting my independence. So I started going uptown and things like that, meeting loads of lads and lasses that were my age that used to hang around the bullring, or the new bullring as it was then. And I found out most of these lads and that had already been thrown out of home or had just decided to leave home. Most of them didn't want to work because it was the 60s and we were all influenced by flower power and hippie era. But of course, hippie era was in San Francisco, really, not in Birmingham. However, we all grew our hair long. I had trouble with my mother about that. Eventually, I just refused to go home and started hanging around with these kids. We slept in derelict houses. We didn't actually beg on the streets because nobody begged in them days. I actually worked in the market for a time. I just happened to be hanging around a bullring and this bloke come in one day, clocked me and said, you want a job? And so I used to look after the store like on a Tuesday and a Saturday, I think, and maybe even a Thursday. It used to bring me in a little, it wasn't much money, but it was like a wage, same as anybody else would have earned, perhaps a little less. But at the same time, I still slept in derelict houses, hung around with these kids. Sometimes we used to go up Broad Street to a place called the Tow Rope, which was opposite the Rum Runner, which was a nightclub. I wasn't into, although I know a load of people were into music and going to nightclubs at the time, which I obviously met these people later in my life. Maybe not too much later, but some years later. So basically that's what we did. We hung round places, all-night cafes like the Tow Rope. I got to know people like prostitutes, rent boys, drug dealers, artisans, just night workers. Everybody used to, and even weirdos. You'd probably call them paedophiles these days. But most of the people I met, whatever their sexual preference was, were fine with what you wear and what you didn't want to do. In other words, like if you were straight, they accepted you as straight. We were, as I said, kids. So all this thing to us, like, yeah, I did come from a Catholic home and things like that. And it was originally a bit of a shock to meet these people, but like you accept it because it's just life. Well, street life, should I say.